motivational or inspirational. I was actually told by a mentor of mine that one of the most valuable things you can do for somebody is not even teach them something, but make them feel empowered, like they can get that end result. Because if they do feel empowered to get that end result, then they will go through all ends of the earth. They will look under every single rock to learn whatever it is that they need to learn. So arguably getting motivated or even just committed to taking a certain action is probably step number one. Then learning how to do it is step number two.
Welcome to CEOs on Video, the show to help you go from being the head of your business to the face and voice of your brand. If you're a CEO, a business owner, an entrepreneur who is involved in bringing a new business for your company, then you need to be putting out content. You are the subject matter expert in your business, and there's no one who can market it better than you can. In this show, I interview experts who are killing it online, using video, using digital media to grow their business, and we're going to show you how you can be doing the same. Micro content. This has become the game of social media, and today I have with me someone who's become an absolute master of this format. Rob Espitia is the co-founder of BMV, Brand with Video, a remote content creation and distribution social media marketing company. After scaling their micro content services to over $500,000 last year, he teaches other creatives how to make their first six figures through short form video. Now, I asked Rob to be on the show because micro content is such a massive play right now. And there's so much opportunity out there to gain a massive amount of traction online. So if you're a coach, a consultant, a web-based service provider, I highly encourage that you listen up, take notes, and pay attention to what you're going to learn in this episode. And if you apply what Rob teaches you, if you apply what he's doing, I genuinely believe that it will change the game for you. Rob, thank you for coming on the show.
Oh man, what an intro. Thanks for having me, RJ. Much appreciated, brother.
Absolutely. So we're going to dive right in. I would love, just to kick things off, Rob, if you could break down what exactly is micro content. Like, what is it for?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, the term micro content really wasn't even all that popular up until like really the last like 6 months. It's been something that we've been selling for over 3 years as a company, and we by no means coined the term micro content, but we were certainly one of the first ones to use it. And when we decided to start selling this product, we really had to learn how to present it to business owners or even other creatives who were trying to kind of, level up their income by helping other people do the same thing. So the best way that we can describe it is we came to the conclusion that when it comes to videos for business, so videos that make businesses more money, there's really two different kinds. There is macro content, MACRO, and there is micro content. Macro content are those videos that are for conversion-based purposes. So they are, brand message videos, testimonial videos, behind the brand, different, even video sales letters, videos that the purpose is, you already have somebody's attention and you want to convert them to a sale or to a call or to the next step. That's what macro content is. But the thing is, you can't get any traffic or you can't, use these videos of macro content without first driving any type of attention to it. And so that is the purpose of micro content. So micro content is solely bite-sized, consumable videos that offer value in one way or another. And it's all for, brand awareness and driving traffic. So these aren't direct to sale videos, but they're videos that, build up your following, give you the brand awareness that you're looking for, that attention. And most of the time, business owners, they don't struggle with sales. They struggle with getting attention because, once they have somebody in the door, they know what to do next. So that's kind of the first problem that most business owners encounter, which is not having enough attention. So that's kind of what micro content caters to specifically.
Yeah, absolutely. So selling is not meant to sell on social media. People don't go from watching one reel or one TikTok and want to buy a high-end service or even a product. But having the intent of it is the first touch point or maybe the 10th touch point that gets them to the next step. And that's where ROI tracking starts to kick in. But when you can break down where in the marketing mix, like how you're bringing new viewers, new visitors to a site, you need to have the end process in place if you're going to have effective micro content, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly, RJ. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's I think a fair caveat of, I think a lot of people like to blame marketing for not working when the sales process is what's broken. So if you're putting out content, you're getting views, getting site visits. It might not be the content that's the problem. It might be that you need to fix the sales process, or you need some of the macro content to help convert the 100,000 whatever visitors into leads and prospects.
Hmm. Yeah, just to add to that, so before I got into the content game, one of my very first careers was actually I used to be a technician. I used to work on cars, and when I was first working on them, a mentor of mine told me, whenever you're trying to figure out what's wrong with it, you don't ask the question what's wrong. That's the wrong question. The very first question is what's not wrong. And so it's more like a checklist of different things that could go wrong. And it's the same thing in a business marketing strategy where, people say, oh, my videos aren't working, or, I'm not, getting as many phone calls as I want. When truly, if you really were to break down the entire process of the entire customer journey, anywhere in between could cause that same problem of, not getting clients, or the same problem of like your car not starting. It could be a battery, it could be the engine, it could be so many different things. Well, it's the same thing in business. It's not like a one slap all solution. You really want to make sure that you're able to take a look at the entire customer journey as a whole, because anything in between, from the very first time that they hear about you to the time that they give you money, anything in between could be broken and it'll mess up the whole thing. So you really do have to look at it with a diagnostic like approach.
I actually love that visual because it can be challenging. Of our natural inclination is to ask, well, what's wrong?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where our minds go. Like, as entrepreneurs, we're professional problem solvers, and we
Mm-hmm.
go immediately into that place when really you don't know. You can have a strong high degree of certainty that you know what's wrong, but you don't know. And you have to take that kind of engineer scientific approach of, you can make a hypothesis of what you think is wrong, but you have to kind of test and figure out, if we change this one thing, what happens, and go through the whole system. But assuming your sales process is dialed in, assuming your intake and your discovery and your website aren't the problem, micro content is that high level of, outside of shoving money into paid ads and direct response. I think it's the best thing out there for bringing new people into your world.
It is, and if anything, I might even argue that it's probably the way that consumers themselves want to be brought into a world, rather than like a direct response type of ad. Obviously, social media, they do their best to cater the ads to their audience, but most of the time, the best customers or the best clients are those who kind of stumbled upon some content and they ended up binge watching a ton of videos. They ended up loving your brand. They ended up loving what you were about, and then when they reached out, they were just all the more educated, all the more sold on you already. And, it wasn't like, oh, I kept seeing your ad. It was like your content was so valuable. I knew I had to reach out. So I might even argue that it's the way that the consumer wants to be sold. It's just through a high volume output of valuable content.
I strongly agree with that, actually, because it's that binge factor. Like,
Hmm.
no one in the world sees an ad come through on Facebook or YouTube ad, and like, I just want to watch all of the ads that these guys have made. Like, I just want to see
Yeah.
more of this. Like, no one. I mean, unless you're like a Seth Godin or something, he might
Hmm.
be the only person.
Hmm.
If you're an ad nerd, sure. But if you come across someone naturally, just in your feed or in your network, or maybe you meet someone, you go to a networking event or a conference, and they find you that way, and then they go down the rabbit hole of, they watch an hour or two of your stuff. That is so much more natural of how people actually form relationships, because that's how
Yeah.
we it mimics the closest thing to real life. Of, you bump into someone, maybe at work or in passing, and then you spend more time, by maybe you grab lunch, or you go to an event, or you do something together, and it goes from there. and you reach that 5, 6, 7 hour mark of you progress to whatever that next stage of the relationship is. And in this case, it's just towards the sale.
RJ, you hit it right on the spot, man. The keyword you said was natural. The sales process, you want it to feel natural. When you're building relationships, when you're networking, even if you have the intention to go out there and get more business, you don't wear that immediately, right? You want it to feel natural. You want it to come off natural. And so the organic way is definitely the best way, because as I'm sure you've heard, the best sales process, they don't feel like they're sales processes, right? You don't feel like you're being sold to. When really, at the back end of it, you are actually being conditioned to like that brand and to want to follow the next couple steps. But yeah, man, you hit it right on the dot when you said the natural way, because that's just what ends up, people want to buy stuff, but they just don't want to feel like they're being sold to. So if it feels natural, if that's what they want to do, then you're going to end up having better results. Not even monetary results, but like the quality of the people that come through, your ecosystem and your business. That's just going to be much higher than, like you said, if somebody just kept watching a bunch of Facebook and YouTube ads. If anything, they probably get turned off more than anything else.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, this is all fantastic, but someone may be listening, think like, yeah, binge factor, great, putting out content, great, but what do I post? How do I know what people want to watch? How do I create something that, is going to be that natural sort of engagement? How do you come up with ideas for videos that are actually going to do something?
Yeah. Great question, man. And that is actually the very first problem that people encounter when they're trying to get into the content creation game. There's two main things that I want to hit. Number one is, the easy answer is just create something that's valuable. But you hear everybody say that. Everybody regurgitates that, right? Create valuable content, something that's valuable to your audience. But what the heck does that really mean? And not too many people really define it. Um, Recently, over the last couple of years of just being like in indulging myself into marketing content, there has been something that is across the board on all facets of what is valuable as a consumable when it comes to media, because we're talking about video, so we're talking about media. And the highest hierarchy of all of these three buckets, actually, if you were to take a look at it, make a lot of money. And that's why people find it valuable. So the first thing is anything that is educational based, right? Think like YouTube videos, how to do this, like how to do that, the 3 steps for this, the 5 softwares for that. Anything that is educational, people will find valuable in it. Especially because people justify spending so much time on social media because they're saying that they're learning or they're watching videos that they learn stuff, right? That's kind of how TikTok blew off. Originally, it was an education-based, platform, and even the original version in China still is. Um, but people justify saying that they're learning and they spend so much time on social with that. So number one is educational content. Anything that you're teaching somebody something. Number two, I would say is motivational or inspirational. I was actually told by a mentor of mine that one of the most valuable things you can do for somebody is not even teach them something, but make them feel empowered, like they can get that end result. Because if they do feel empowered to get that end result, then they will go through all ends of the earth. They will look under every single rock to learn whatever it is that they need to learn. So arguably getting motivated or even just committed to taking a certain action is probably step number one. Then learning how to do it is step number two. And then number three, what I would say is anything that is entertaining. People spend a lot of money watching fights, watching Super Bowl, games, watching, all kinds of, YouTube content, right? Comedy shows, things that are entertaining, is actually considered very, very valuable. So if you were to look at the highest hierarchy of all three, like education, right? It's why people pay, 6 figures and above for masterminds and programs and courses and education, formal or informal, right? Because society as a whole already values that. Then if you look at inspiration and motivation, same thing, right? Like Tony Robbins events. Every single niche and industry has a motivational speaker of their own, little subsegment. So, that in of itself, right? Tony Robbins, Eric the hip hop, all those guys, people will pay a lot of money to just be a part of those things. And then, of course, entertainment, right? Like if you look at actors, athletes, performers, these are the people that make a lot of money, and it's because they offer a lot of value to society. So if you're able to kind of just peel the curtain back, take a look at what those three things are, and figure out which aligns more with your brand, right? Like if you're, more into corporate, then, there's probably only so far that you can push the envelope for entertainment. But there's a lot that you can do in inspirational, motivational, or even educational content, right? There's a lot that you can do there. And that's why when you go on social media, you see a bunch of how-to videos, a bunch of tricks and tips and all that stuff. Motivational videos, people working out. You see that a lot, and then also like the funny dances and all that stuff. As much as I'm not a fan of it, and you'll never catch me doing a dance on social media, but a lot of people find that valuable. They find it funny, and so that's why they'll recreate it. That's why they'll share it. So those are the three big categories. So if you have an idea and you can kind of comb it into one of those three, then more than likely somebody will find your video valuable. And then the last part of that, because I know I've kind of been a little bit on a tangent, the last part of that is what people don't understand is that messaging, like the goal of messaging when you're marketing and you're putting out material and content, is not to like always be fresh and come up with something new, but it's to say the same thing that you've been saying all along in a new way. Because if you take a look at big companies, like why don't they rebrand all the time? It's because they already have a very solid brand, and what they do is they say the exact same thing, the same message, the same values, the same goal, mission, all of those things are the same in these companies, but they always find fresh new ways to market it, right? Think like Nike, for example, as well, right? They haven't changed their slogan, they haven't changed their logo. However, they always come up with fresh new ideas to say the same thing. So what ends up happening is you always stay top of mind because you're coming in a new, fresh way, but also you are growing that audience and that fan base because maybe the way you said this thing didn't relate to this person. But even if you said the same thing in just a different way, it might have related to 2 or 3 more people. So it's not about coming up with all these brand new ideas and rebranding all the time. Rather, figuring out what is valuable to your audience, figuring out which of those 3 aspects, works the most for you: education, inspiration, motivation, or entertainment. And then number 3, try to come up with ways to say the same thing in just as many different ways as possible. That's how you get started.
That's huge. Donald Miller says that great marketing is an exercise in memorization. And I think a lot of people try to be clever or creative. Like, oh, I've got to. People are
Or
gonna
cute.
get bored. You get cute with it, and people are gonna get tired of us, repeating the same thing. Or like, we're not saying post something and then post the exact same thing. Like, don't just repeat and spam your own viewers. Like, if that's the case, then just run ads. But if
Yeah.
don't get worried about even saying what someone else said. People get worried of, well, I'm just repeating what they said. Yeah, but you might be the teacher that someone will relate to and actually understand it from. I think we all had that teacher growing up, or a professor, or a role model that we look to. Of we might have heard the same lesson from 10 people, but they're the one that got it to click. The same is true in the content game. You might be, you're the kind of the filter of your biggest influences, the people that you have looked up to and learned from, the authors and the presenters and the influencers. But you present that information in a slightly different way. Someone might need to hear it from you. And I've always tried to grasp onto that and to get over some of that feeling of what I have is valuable.
It is 100%. And just to add to that, like I was listening to this podcast the other day. It was a Ryan Serhant podcast. Ryan Serhant, he's like the #1 real estate agent in New York, and huge content creator, inspiration to many. And somebody asked him a question about, like, you're already creating so much content, there are already so many other people creating so much content, like what do I make? Like, what type of content should I make? And this is really valuable because I also have a bunch of clients in the real estate niche. So I kind of told them the exact same thing whenever they felt challenged in this manner. And it was, Ryan Serhant, he himself had the same question. And so there was this like actor slash like news anchor that he used to know. When he asked him, he said, how do you do it? Right? Like, how do you always stay so fresh? How do you get so many people to always come to you specifically? And he says, Ryan, people don't come to me to listen to the news or listen to the weather. They come because they want to hear me talk about the news and talk about the weather. So it's not like you are only being seen as a information source, is you are the favorite information source for different types of people. And so, that in itself, will always kind of set you apart. Last example that I make from that, and hopefully I'm trying to keep everything, PG, but a long time ago, when I was even younger, my partners and I, we were trying to kind of get into the dating game a little bit. We didn't know how things worked growing up, and our parents, very very great relationship, but they didn't exactly were dating game masters or anything like that. And there's all these things that you would look up, like how to do intro lines, how to like, walk up to a girl, or guy, or, whatever you're trying to attract, and walk up to them and, just say like, hi. And it's like, have they heard that before? Probably. But have they heard you say before? No, they haven't. And so that in of in itself just already kind of sets you apart, is that people may have heard that thing before, but hearing it from you, even if they've never heard your other content, or even if they just stumbled up into your brand and into your ecosystem, just hearing those things from you not only solidifies, things for them, but just really sets things apart in the way that, all of us have something unique to offer. And if we're really trying to do our best job at doing it, and we're really putting our best foot forward, our viewers and our content consumers, they will see that. And, those who resonate will click, right? It's kind of like a puzzle piece. You can't force it, but there's already other people who are looking to get plugged into, somebody like you, or RJ, like your content. You already have people watching, the videos the way you want to do them, the way you introduce them, the way you bring on different types of guests, and that in of itself already sets you apart. Anywho, sorry, didn't mean to go too much off, but it's just really, really applicable in multiple facets, whether it's relationships, whether it's in business. That unique personal brand about it really sets things apart. And I'm glad that you asked that question, because a lot of people let something like that stop them from even just taking the first couple steps.
Hey there, if you are hearing this and you think a podcast might be right for your business, then you're in luck. One of the services that we do over at Evoke Media Labs, which is the sponsor of this episode, is create podcasts for busy entrepreneurs like yourself. Having a podcast is an excellent way to showcase your thought leadership, your industry expertise, and build connections within your industry so that you can provide something valuable to your audience in a non-salesy way. Nobody wants to download an ebook in exchange for an email anymore. Having a podcast lets you nurture and build trust with your audience, and lets them get to know you a little bit before and up until they're ready to actually have a conversation with you. So if that sounds like something that you want in your business, shoot us a message and we'll see if we're the right fit for you to help you launch and grow your show. All right, back to the episode. Yeah, 100%. Relationships are relationships. Whether they're social, whether they're romantic, whether they're business, and they all kind of start the same way. They need to know who you are. They need to know, like, and trust. You go through a very similar process, and there just has to be a starting point. And I think we overthink it when there's money attached to it, or in the romantic game, when there's a one-sided perception of value.
And the goal or something like that. I agree. Yeah, I like that. I like what you said better. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so to bring things and make things a little more tangible, if someone is brand new, they've never really done video before, maybe they're kind of new to the content world, and they want to take advantage of micro content, like, what tangible suggestions would you have for them to get results quickly?
Yeah, 100%. So, not to, I'll share kind of what it is that we teach, not to, plug in what we're doing. But obviously, and you probably heard, we have a program, MCM, Micro Content Mastery. It is catered more towards creatives, because, creatives, we are, the determining factor for a lot of these businesses, whether they have success or not. So I'm trying to empower the creatives, but at the same time, the ones who truly win at the end are those business owners that end up hiring these creatives. And inside of our program, what we teach is that, number one, you have to get started, and your first couple videos may suck, but but it's just a step that you have to take. And then once you take that step, you will, certainly be better. Your second dozen videos are always going to be better than your first dozen videos, and that's just kind of how it works. But if we're talking about, for CEOs and business owners, they want to start creating content for themselves, the very first thing, super super easy, is just take a look at what they have explained throughout their career, or what frequently asked questions they have gotten over and over and over again, which happens to be common knowledge to them. They know this information like the back of their hand. However, most of the outside community, they don't know those things. So the first thing I would start about is just talk about things that you already know, questions that you have already been asked. And again, if you can somehow educate somebody on something, or if you can use a piece of information or a story of yours that could potentially motivate or inspire somebody to take action, or even entertain them and give them a good laugh, and then know what to do moving forward. That's what I would get them to start with before, creating any fancy micro content topics or subjects or anything like that. Talk about what you already know, because for one, it's going to show that you already know what you're talking about. And then, not only that, but you can probably also save a bunch of your own time and have people just watch those videos whenever you have to answer that question again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the whole point, right? I mean, it's not to create something new and flashy, and like some people go from watching, like a YouTube video where it's highly produced and music and transitions and sound effects, and like it just looks amazing and shot in 8K ProRes, and like they look at it as this unachievable thing. But that's not
Mm-hmm.
where you start, and that's not what you need to start. You
Mm-hmm.
start with start with what you have. Maybe you've got someone that can hold the phone for you. Maybe you've set it up in a tripod. Maybe, like, you do what you have to, and you focus on what will be valuable for the person watching, not what will make you feel good. And I think if you can live there, and I actually love when people start making video themselves. I love it when clients have done that, because it's like, I think everyone should work retail and work in a restaurant for at least like 3 months. And I think dipping your toe into the creative world, like, all right, you're running a business, you're trying to be a CEO, and you're trying to manage the content, you're going to gain a healthy respect for the amount of time and effort and work that goes into it, and to have it done well. And when you bring in a professional, I think it's that much better, because if you can find someone you click with, then it's magic.
Agreed. They definitely gain a new appreciation and respect for the work that goes behind it. But not only that, I really like whenever they start with their phone, because it shows a level of commitment that most people aren't even willing to take. Right? They want their first couple videos to be like the best videos ever, and they're not. They're afraid to just put themselves out there and do that. The last thing I would say about getting started with that as well is I actually just recently created a resource that, if anybody watching this podcast, RJ, I'll provide you with a link as well. I had just and this was specifically more for the members inside of MCM, but I created a document of 100 fill in the blank video ideas for micro content, regardless of what niche or industry you are in. So it already kind of helps you get started. And of course, numbers are subjective. So if I say 3 tips to achieve X, if you have 4 tips, if you have 5 tips, like, put on, your big boy or big girl hat on, and, start getting creative with it. However, I think it'll definitely be a valuable resource for people to be able to get started. So whoever is watching this podcast, shoot RJ a message, because at the end of this, I'm going to send him that document. And, if you end up working with RJ, if you're a CEO or if you're a CMO of a company, like that, they'll get you started with 100, ideas solid.
Yeah, fantastic. And sometimes that's the first thing you need, because it's tough when you have 5 ideas and you go to record and 3 of them don't work out. But when you shift the approach of, we're not putting out one perfect message anymore, and I think this is still a big shift people are struggling with. This is you're going to put out 20, 30 videos a month. So you can't get hung up on the one idea. You can't perfect the one idea. You have your concept, the pain that you're trying to solve, or the question you're trying to answer, the message you're trying to share. You hit that, and then you go to the next. And this isn't to excuse bad content. Like, don't just film garbage and just like play the numbers game, but put a little intent behind it, do the best you can with resources you have available and move on, because you never know what the video is that someone is going to hit with, that is going to connect for them. And it is rarely the one you think it's going to be. That's been my experience anyway.
Agreed. And oftentimes the ones that you put the least amount of effort towards somehow end up popping off and blowing up. I think you'll like this analogy. My team and I, we're really big on analogies because I think analogies are one of the best ways to teach somebody a lesson or something. So I know I shared with you my car analogy, right, of the diagnostic approach. My brother, actually, my partner, he came up with this. Um, and it's like in the health, like, losing weight type of analogy, because everybody can understand this one, right? Whenever a business owner would come to us, let's say they had a certain goal, like let's say they had to like raise the bottom line by $30,000 a month, for example, right? So that was like an actual measurable, quantifiable goal. Well, it was really similar to, for example, if someone is overweight and they're trying to lose 30 pounds. And so what we would do is, I know I gave you the micro and the macro content example. People think sometimes that like I just need one video and it's going to solve all my problems. I'm going to hit that extra 30K a month with one video. And, just because I put all this money behind it, I have this budget, I put all this huge effort. And the truth is that doesn't work that way. It's kind of like, if you are trying to lose weight, you are trying to lose that 30 pounds, what do you think is going to get you there more? Doing a marathon once, right? Which is like an equivalent to a big, large production video, or jogging every single day for 3 months, right? That's like putting out a piece of micro content once every single day for 3 months. Which do you think is going to actually help you lose weight? Being in your current situation with your brand, with your body, the way you are now, and doing a big effort once, or doing a very sustainable effort. My team and I love using this word, a sustainable effort over a long enough period of time, because it is in fact unreasonable that if you put out a video once that you're going to get top 1% results. But it is also in fact unreasonable that if you put out a video a day for an extended period of time that you won't get any results. So which unreasonable would you like to be on the side of? I don't know. I don't know what you thought about that one, but that's something that we like sharing as well.
Everyone loves the story of the one, moonshot, 1 in a million, something takes off and goes viral. Like, we love, we love hearing about that stuff, but it's not a good bet. Like, it's not a good strategy to.
No, that's gambling.
And maybe you have the kind of business where, you only serve a couple of clients a year, so you only need one. But even if that's the case, your odds are better if you have more chances to swing the bat.
Agreed.
And there's just there's stronger lifetime value if you're building an archive of messaging versus putting one message, and if one key thing changes, one key, like executive leaves, one key, like, one thing changes, and now that video is no longer really relevant. Versus if it's a commitment to ongoing communication, then you can pivot week to week. It doesn't, if there's a change, it doesn't matter. You change with it. Usually, when there's growth or setbacks or obstacles, it makes for good content because challenge is relatable.
Yeah. I mean, you hit it with the whole, like, whenever there is change, or whenever there's like, a personnel change or a talent change or a leadership change in an organization. Like, if you're a CEO watching this, if you put, a good effort behind a campaign, let's say it's a direct response marketing paid ads campaign, the minute you stop giving Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or Pinterest or whatever you're using, the minute you stop giving them money, that video falls off the face of the earth. However, when you have an organic like approach to it, those videos live forever. And so the difference is, paid ads, they're only going to keep getting more expensive month after month, year after year, right? I mean, look at ad costs this year versus ad cost of last year, right? However, with organic, it's an effort that, especially if you hire somebody like RJ, or you hire somebody that knows what they're doing, it's a sustainable fixed monthly cost. However, the results compound month after month. So it's time is on your side versus against you, with like something like a direct response, paid advertising campaign. it's only going to get more expensive, and it's only going to get harder, and there's only going to be more players in the game, and you're only going to have to be better because of that, versus playing the long-term game of doing you, and results get better, stuff doesn't get more expensive, and as the future kind of comes, you become a lot more grateful for all the actions that you've taken in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the sort of action that the longer you wait, the longer you'll wait to have to see results. Like, you have to just start. And it doesn't matter if you hire someone or if you're using it doesn't matter where you start, just so that you do. And that's really what I'm trying to push people for, especially smaller companies. If solopreneurs, coaches, consultants, it might be just them. Like, this is the way to doubling yourself. This is the way to take little bits of you and multiply your effort and build leverage so that you can scale, and you can start getting some of your time back, so that you can make more money, so that you can build your team and hire professionals like us, and you can do more and more of the same, so that it's a compounding use of your effort, so that it's not just a one for one trade of time. Like, that's the goal. Video is a multiplier of effort. And when you get good at it, when you break down, whether it's micro content, podcasting, YouTube, TikTok, it doesn't really matter. But if you leverage video with the intent of providing value at scale, you can speak to tens of thousands of people a day, more than you could ever possibly do if you spent every second of your waking life trying to match it. Like, it will let you impact far more people. And not enough people understand that.
Yeah, I mean, CEOs and CMOs and anybody in like in the marketing side of the organization, they should be like drooling over the type of leverage that you can get using video. I mean, and it doesn't always have to be also on the marketing or client acquisition side. I mean, CEOs. I mean, the word leverage that you said, I mean, that's essentially like the job description of a CEO, as well as, of course, moving the organization in the right direction, but leveraging all of the resources and the team members that are at his or her disposal. And, with video, like, not only can you help on the client acquisition side, but on like the client success side, right? Like, incorporating thank you videos or training videos for staff members, right? Because I mean, CEOs spend so much money training their team as well. And they don't understand how much they can really cut that bottom line, impress their, the shareholders and, the board directors and all those other people through the strategic use of video content. So I'm surprised that, more CEOs and CMOs are not drooling and gawking over what they can be accomplishing using video content. But it's thanks to, platforms like this, RJ, where they can get a little bit more educated on it. But I mean, you said it right there. Media is one of the highest forms of leverage that can be used, period. And one of the most versatile, in my opinion, as well.
Yeah, I agree. And the hope is that even if we can reach a couple, 1 or 2, 10, 100, and shift how they're looking at it, because I think a lot of people are still like, well, I don't want to dance on TikTok. I'm like, don't. Like,
Yeah.
Please don't.
You don't have to.
That isn't really, unless you have hidden talents, it's not going to be valuable for you or for anyone else.
Yeah.
But there are ways that we can leverage what you are great at and what you could do for someone. And that's what we're trying to open some eyes to. So, Rob, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you coming on. I will link down to the course in the description for if you are looking to produce content, if that's a core piece of your business, if you're a course creator, or, a consultant, or if you have an internal team of creatives. I'll link the course down below. It breaks so much of this down into tangible, easy to follow steps. They're providing so much value in the course. I will link that down below. So definitely check it out. And if you want that list of ideas, reach out. We'll get that to you. And it'll be a great starting point for you to just get started and start leveraging micro content for your business. So thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you learned something that is going to help you propel your business forward. If you did, please let me know. Comment down below. Leave a like, leave a review wherever you're listening to this. and I will see you in the next one.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of CEOs on Video. I hope you got something valuable from it. If you liked this episode of CEOs on Video, be sure to let us know by giving us a follow. Leave us a rating on Apple Music. It would mean the world to us. So let us know what you liked, what you didn't, and if there's anything that we can do to help you, be sure to reach out. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you on the next one.